All right. Hello and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about mindfulness. And for many of us, mindfulness, we've heard of it and maybe we try to implement it and it's hard and we feel like we're not good at it if you're like me anyway. So we kind of let it go and remember it, but really kind of let it go as a practice that we engage in. And so in this episode, I want to talk about kind of my own experience with mindfulness and maybe some tips that I think can be helpful for you if it's something that you're trying to implement in your life and are having difficulty. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds and the creator of the AAA Response. And so, when I was dealing with anxiety, right, and again, anxiety is something that is definitely come up periodically just kind of throughout my life. But I mean, when I was really in it and especially with OCD and that big loop, I was in my late teens, early 20s was kind of like the big time of my life where that was really taking over. And it's not to say that I haven't ever experienced anxiety since. It's like, of course I have, right? And it's but it's really about understanding the tools to make sure you don't get caught in the loop. And if you are caught in the loop, to really bring yourself out, right? And not let yourself spiral downward. So when it comes to mindfulness, mindfulness is rooted in a Buddhist, kind of concept, right? But really what we're talking about is just being aware of the present moment. And one of the things about anxiety is it always wants to take us into the past or into the future. Most of the time the future, but it can be the past as well. And what we're talking about when I say take us, I'm talking about taking our consciousness, our awareness, right? When I'm conscious of something, I'm here. If I'm at dinner with my wife, if I'm going to be conscious for the meal, it means that I'm not going to be distracted. I'm not going to be thinking about work or thinking about what we're doing next or something that's going on this weekend or whatever, right? I'm not, what my consciousness, my awareness is going to be in the moment, right? Talking, enjoying the meal, eating, enjoying the presence of her, right? That's what consciousness is. And really it's like, and that's what mindfulness is. It's about our ability to be fully present into what we're doing. Now, this is a challenging thing if you've ever dealt with anxiety, especially high levels of anxiety. And so when we're talking about practicing mindfulness in uncertain times, like when times are good, and you're feeling good and you're feeling, stable and your, nerves are not all, all over the place. It's like, yeah, you can take a walk in the park and enjoy it. But the question is, how do we practice mindfulness when things are wonky, right? Or we're not feeling 100%. Because what happens is I feel like people try to use mindfulness, and I'm guilty of this myself, as a way to escape anxiety, right? Like, I'm sure you've read books like The Power of Now and things like that, and talking about the freedom of the present moment. And yes, there is a truth to that. But what happens is people try to use it as a tool to get rid of an emotion. And they find out that doesn't work very well, usually. So in what mindfulness really is about, it's about being with what is right now in a non-judgmental fashion. This is the key point to it that I've found, is that mindfulness is about sitting with your experience and not judging it. See, that's actually one of the biggest struggles that people have with anxiety or feelings that we don't like, is that we judge the feeling. And it's actually our reaction to the feeling that is the problem. And our reaction is caused by our judgment to the feeling, right? So if I'm feeling down, let's say, if I'm feeling depressed or if I'm feeling anxious, I can notice that feeling. I can be aware of that feeling. But if I judge that feeling as bad and then I try to get rid of that feeling, that's not me being mindful. Mindfulness is me noticing the feeling noticing what's happening and not judging it and allowing it to run its course. Because the reality is every moment of our life is different. It changes. Change is the one constant in life. Our feelings cannot last. So when we are able to be mindful, what that first looks like is this idea of not judging our experience, not judging it. And yes, this is not easy to do, but again, it's something that we can practice. Mindfulness is a practice like anything else. So sure, we start with little things in our life, right? But because everyone wants to first go into the feelings and like their intense feelings and how do I use mindfulness to get rid of this? One of the things that we want to do with mindfulness is just start being more mindful in the easy times. So like when we're brushing our teeth or we're taking a shower or we're eating or we're, walking, right? Just kind of shifting our attention into that moment and saying, how can I be fully present right now? How can I be completely present for this moment? And one of the ways to do that is, again, to start listening to your senses. What do I hear right now? What do I see? What do I smell? It's like these senses allow us to anchor in to the moment. And the first real step of mindfulness is just becoming aware of when you're not mindful. That's actually the best way, in my opinion, to when we're dealing with uncertain times or we're dealing with high emotional states. Okay, well, how do we practice mindfulness at that time? One of the best things we can do is just start noticing when we're not aware or when we're, distracted, when we're lost in thought. And that one notice that you have, or that one time that you're saying, oh, shoot, I'm lost in my mind again, or I'm ruminating, or I'm thinking about this, or whatever it is. It's like that moment when we're able to just say, oh, I'm lost. Okay, come back, right? And anchor ourselves back into the present. That is right there. That's what mindfulness is. That's what practicing mindfulness is. It's just this awareness, right? And instead of continuing to be lost in our minds or continuing to ruminate or be thinking about the past or future, we're able to shift our consciousness and our attention back to the present. And yes, ideally, we'd like to try to stay there for a few seconds, right? And then eventually, sure, we're going to get lost again because that's just part of the practice, right? And the more and more we're able to bring ourselves back and even become aware of when we're not conscious or when we're lost in our thoughts, that's what's going to help us come back to the present. So when we talk about how to practice mindfulness, and I might make a few different episodes on this in this series because there's so much to talk about. But the first thing is really becoming aware that we're lost. That right there is the first step of just kind of like, oh, okay, hey, I'm lost, right? Like just noticing that. And then by noticing we're lost, we're able to kind of bring our attention back to the present. And then again, just anchoring into our senses. And you might do this several times during the day. And that's okay. It's okay. But when we're talking about how to practice mindfulness, it starts with a little practice and then builds, and then it gains more of a presence in our life and becomes easier and easier and easier. And again, I'm by no means perfect at this, by any means, but especially during heavy emotion or stressful times, just giving yourself that self-compassion of saying, I'm just going to practice being aware of when I get lost. That's going to be a much more achievable goal than trying to be mindful the whole day. Because what happens is as soon as we start getting lost in our thoughts or something like that, we start beating ourselves up and judging ourselves. Oh, I suck at mindfulness. I'm not going to do this anymore. And we don't want that, right? We want a very self-compassionate view towards this practice because it's hard. It's a hard thing. And so when it comes to mindfulness, first, just noticing and that awareness of when you get lost in your mind and being able to bring yourself back, that really is the first step of being mindful, right? And then we start to move into the idea of being non-judgmental towards our experience, right? And just embracing what is happening right now in this moment, just as it is, not trying to change it. And especially when it comes to our thoughts and feelings. And the more we can do that, the less we resist the experience and the quicker it actually passes. Because again, our resistance to the experience, especially when it comes to OCD and anxiety, is actually what the problem is, not the experience itself. So, I hope this was helpful. And this is kind of just some quick tips on just how to practice mindfulness during these uncertain times. It's not really, I don't want you to focus on being completely mindful as much as these little nuances of just being aware when you get lost. That's practicing mindfulness right there. You're initiating the practice. Okay. So set realistic goals for yourself in this practice. And again, work at little things throughout the day. And because that will propel you to keep doing this. And then your practice will grow and deepen as you continue on the path. So hope this was helpful. And again, if you're wrestling with OCD and anxiety, we have some links right down in the notes for some resources. Also at restoredminds.com, we have different ways we can support you on our journey, on this journey, whether it's, our online trainings, our coaching programs, our group programs, and we are here to support you. So please, if you are struggling, don't go at this alone. Again, reach out to us and let us know, if you are interested in working together, because, we're here to support you. And then on this series, I'm going to be doing some more. I think I'm going to continue this series and dive into mindfulness a little deeper as we continue on. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you so much for watching that video. And so if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free training for you over at Restored Minds, where you can start learning how to use our AAA response to really break out of that loop and ultimately take back control of your life. And all you need to do to access is just click the little link below, and you'll be taken to a page where you can register today. Thank you so much.